Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to ReLAYshons. Here for another amazing episode with another VIP guest. I'm so excited. This is episode 11. This will be released in 2019 and we're still in 2018. Isn't that crazy? So, we're in the past talking to the future because we can. Why not? So this episode is called Me, Myself, and I. And the premise of this episode is who comes first, the chicken or the egg? So you know how that saying about who comes first and is the question that nobody could answer? Well, we're going to attempt to answer it today. So I want to start off with introducing my VIP guest, my beautiful friend, my most recently married woman who is amazing. I love her so much. We met in high school. Gosh, we were 13, 14 years old. We were babies. And she was like one of the smartest girls. She had all the good grades and she had I was a clique hopper. So I would go from clique to clique, and her clique was the smart clique, the beautiful girls who were just smart and ahead of themselves, but just regular girls from the Heights. And they were not regular, and I knew that. I recognized that immediately when I looked at her. And so, we always became friends. We were always cool. And then in college, my second college, I transferred from my first college to the second college, and she was already there for 2 years, and she helped me get my feet wet again into a new environment. She's always just been amazing, and I'm just so happy to have her here and for her to be my friend and for me to share you or share her with you. Welcome, Yolanda.
Hello.
So she's here, and we want to talk about being about ourselves. So I think that the best way to transition this is to kind of really talk about how we take care of ourselves, by being honest and open with those in our lives. How do you do that most?
Boundaries.
Boundaries
are essential for you to do that. We all grow up with core values. So these core values are basically what help us create these boundaries. And without these boundaries, to be quite honest, you can't have a healthy relationship. Any type. Friendship, loving relationship with another partner, maybe even your siblings or friends, you name it. Even co-workers.
Yeah, anybody that you connect with. Any other human.
Yes, anyone you connect with, you need to build boundaries.
Yes. Gosh, so how do we build boundaries? When you say boundaries, maybe we should define it. What are boundaries to you?
They're your gatekeeper. So basically, it's what you allow, you don't allow in your space. So your space, and if you think about it, it's like your home. Who do you allow to come in and out? Right? So, and your gatekeeper is basically your boundaries. You have to look at these people and kind of say, all right, do we click? What's your vibe? But if we get into boundaries, we have to think about what can boundaries be? So let's say, for example, I'm the type of person that when I'm at work, I'm structured. When I'm at work, I don't like to be texted or called because it kind of messes up. Yeah, it messes up my focus. That's a boundary. Now, let's say that there's certain people that feel let me text my friend. And I'm just well, guess what? You can't text me because that's one thing I can't do while I'm at work. That's a boundary. That's an example of a boundary. We all have different boundaries. So
do you think when starting relationships, we should out front talk about our boundaries? Because everyone has boundaries, but nobody likes to talk about it.
Not
it's
at
almost
all.
Mean.
But think about it. We all come in with an introduction. Hey, hi, how are you? What are you about? What do you like? What don't you like? We specifically say what we do and we don't like. So there is some sort of boundaries already that are being defined. So, and obviously as your relationship grows, you tend to get to, you'll learn more about them. So
you feel like you learn boundaries depending on who you're dealing with at that time in your life.
Correct.
So, and then you build on them as you go along. Mm-hmm. Gosh, I need to learn this. I'm not really good at these type of things. I have boundaries.
We have boundaries with our own relationship, if you think about it.
With ourselves.
Of course.
Oh, how do we have boundaries with ourselves?
We have boundaries. For example, just even meeting up today. Mm-hmm. What time am I supposed to be here?
You have to be here at 6:30.
Right. Mm-hmm. No, 6. But then you're like, what?
Then I have to change it.
You were just like, you know what? I can't. So I was like, all right. But I wanted to make sure I could come here and it's fine. It's safe. So I had to text him and be like, hey, I'm coming in. Let me know if this is okay. There's so many types of boundaries. And I feel like these are just simple, basic boundaries. But when it comes to a relationship and the deeper it gets, the deeper the boundaries. So, I mean, that's how I could put it.
And do you equate boundaries to respect? Because just like what you were saying right now, like you texted me and you asked me, like that to me says to me that you respect me, you respect my space, you respect our time.
Exactly.
So they had to do with respect. So there are a lot of people who don't respect anybody out there. So what would you say for people who are just not respectful or don't understand like
you gotta
standard way of respecting?
Call them out.
Ooh, we calling people out.
You have to call people out. Let's say if you told me, okay, come in at 6 and, you mentioned 6:30 and I'm here at 6:15. What are you going to say to me? Hey, by the way, I just got here. You'll be like, well, I kind of told you to be here at 6:30. You have to call me out. You can't be fine with that because at the end of the day, you define when you wanted me to be here. You have to call people out. And if you can't, guess what? No one's a doormat. You should never be a doormat. Never let anybody kind of just walk through your boundaries. Once you let that happen, everything's at stake.
Oh,
you're obviously they won't respect you. They won't think that you're authentic because they just kind of walked all over your
boundaries. That's good. I wouldn't consider myself a pushover, but I do get stuck in this whole people-pleasing thing sometimes. And I don't know if it's about the other person or so much more about me. I'm still trying to identify that. But I'm a very with the flow type of person, right? So a frequent example that happens to me a lot is I'm going to go hang out with a friend. It's like, oh, where do you want to go? Where do you want to eat? I'm like, oh, no, I don't care, right? And then we get there and I'm like, oh, actually, I really didn't want this, right? Or, gosh, now I changed my mind, but I feel bad saying I changed my mind, so I'm going to just go do that anyway. Like, I do that a lot. Like, at least 90% of the time, I'm always saying that I'm okay with something just to, like, not ruffle feathers or to make things more complicated or to mess up the plan. Like, I'm just going to go with the flow because I don't want to, like, mess this all up.
Because you're concealing your true feelings because you're just scared. You're in fear of the person's reaction. And that's not good because it's going against you. And I think that one of the things that I had, I feel like sometimes we tend to do that because we just want to be around people. We don't want to be alone. And I think that then goes back to you because it's like, what's the problem? If this person doesn't want to hang out with me or if this person's not, also giving me the same type of energy, the same vibe I'm giving this person, why do I keep doing that?
Right.
You have to kind of step back and be like,
what's up with me? Right. Yeah. Which is why I'm like, I need to figure out what's up with me because it's not just with one particular person. This is me with a lot of people. I think with me, it's not really the loneliness part, but more like confrontation. So I've been known amongst my friends and family that I'm very confrontational. And I think that has affected me in some ways because now I almost find ways to go around confrontation where I'm like now negating myself.
I actually respect a person that's more confrontational that's not because you're basically you're putting all your cards, on the table. This is how it is. This is how you feel, versus a person that doesn't do that. you'll never get to know how they feel. I feel like people that feel a certain way about people who are confrontational, it just stems with them. It stems with them.
It's like a personal thing.
It's a personal thing, I feel. Sometimes we do get a little, riled up or whatever. We can take it back a notch, At the end of the day, we always have to treat each other with respect.
Yeah, I think my delivery can be a little awesome.
I think that, maybe that's what it is. It's just delivery. I actually say that all the time because my sister, I'm big on horoscope signs. So my sister's a big fire sign. So I'm always like, I feel like you come from a good place, but your delivery is just wrong. So I'm always like, always think about, before you say something, imagine you saying it to yourself. How would that affect you? Like, would you get upset if someone came at you that way? You always have to put yourself
in other people's shoes.
Empathize. Yeah. It's a big factor.
Empathy. So, this is a lot. It's a lot in a little time. So, speaking up for ourselves and knowing when to take accountability while learning when to say enough is enough. What do you think about that?
When enough is enough?
When is enough? When do you feel like it's time to speak up for yourself? And when to take accountability as well?
You know what? I'm all about energy and vibes. And if I feel that our relationship, it's a two-way street. If I feel like I'm giving a lot and all I'm doing is giving, you're going to burn out. And you don't feel like you're not getting anything back. You're going to feel like, all right, I feel like I'm doing this all alone. Then you have to think about, okay, what's going on here? You have to ask yourself that question. You have to ask the person the question, hey, is there something up with us? And sometimes people will kind of they won't tell you straight up.
Oh, yeah, I know.
And if they won't tell you straight up, then there's something else there. And guess what? You have to kind of step back. Everything around you affects you. There was actually this good analogy that I read the other day. Take example a flower. If a flower doesn't bloom, do you fix the environment or do you fix the flower?
I mean, it takes more work to fix the environment than the flower.
Well, in order for the flower to work, to grow, it's all based on the environment, the soil, the water, the sun, where it's based. If the environment doesn't work, guess what? That flower will never bloom. This
is like the same as the chicken and the egg.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
It will never bloom.
So you have to just move the flower somewhere else.
So that's basically what it is. You got to take that relationship that you had and certain ways to do it. I feel like you're going to have different relationships where you just can't cut off. For example, siblings and your parents and loved ones. Guess what you do? You won't cut it off all the way, but you're going to limit their time. And they're going to see, oh, wow, something shifted here. And sometimes it takes that for a person to realize, wow, something's going on here. You can't change a person. But with your own actions. They'll say, it says a lot.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. So how do you make time for yourself and boundaries? Especially now you're in a marriage, you're starting a life with someone. And I could say I've known people that are getting relationships or in marriages and they kind of lose themselves. They lose their friends. They kind of alienate themselves. So how do you stay true for you now in your new partnership? I have to get comfortable
with myself. And, that was very hard growing up. Growing up, I always felt different and I always wanted to be accepted. I grew up in a predominantly Dominican area and I'm from Nicaragua. And I was just like, why am I not Dominican?
Why am I different?
Why am I
It's all the same to me, though.
But you know what? Growing up, you don't think about it that way. And then there's certain things that are very different cultural. I mean, we're all Hispanic at the same time.
Right.
Latinas,
but South American is very different than Caribbean.
Just
minor
food.
Little things.
Yeah, it's not a lot. But yeah, growing up, I always felt like, wow, I wanted to be accepted, I always felt different. And I never built a relationship with myself. I was too busy trying to build a relationship with people. And one of the things in my adult life that I've learned to do is get to know myself, love myself. Like, you have to really think about it. People always say, oh, in order for you to be able to have a relationship, or have, someone love you, you got to know how to love yourself. But really think about it.
But that's easier said than done. Exactly. Yeah, like what does it mean to love Yolanda? Tell me what's one thing that you do for yourself that you to share your self-love.
To share my self-love? Well, I don't share it. It's just for me.
Oh. Well, how do you give yourself love?
So how do I give myself love? I do more things that I love. So, for example, one of the things that I like to do is travel. And I mean, obviously I don't do it by myself all the time. I have sometimes, because I just like to do it. Not everyone is able to do it with me. Do things, more things that you love, like spa time, some reading time, a glass of wine, just being in your thoughts, watching movies, like, just
I love solitude.
Forget it.
I love solitude.
I love my solitude. And it's funny because the reason why my marriage works with my husband is because I love how we're both independent. And when we come, together, it's just a whole different type of love. And it's very important. I mean, it took some time. I feel like in relationships, at least with him, and I had different relationship with different people, different guys. And I remember there was a certain relationship where I was just, I had no independence. Mm-hmm. I wake up, went to sleep. I would speak to this person. It was just, I lost myself. And when we broke up, I didn't even know who I was. Ooh. So with my husband now, I love the fact that, one, he has his own life. I have my own life. But when we're together, it's,
magic.
It's, forget it. Two whole people.
Two whole people coming together. Yes, I was just having this conversation.
You can't have sides. You have to be two whole solid people.
But don't you think that goes against everything that we were taught, right? We were taught you meet your other half. And true love means you do everything together. And you have to always be together. He's supposed to fill you. And you're supposed to fill them. And, magic and love. Like, it goes against everything we were taught.
Yeah, and I feel like that's why a lot of things go wrong.
Ooh.
That's why I feel like we're brought up to do certain things a certain way because society has basically placed us there, And I feel like it's no one's fault. Like, I never point my finger and say to my parents, it's your fault.
Right, it's not. They did what they knew.
Exactly.
We all working with what we know.
As long as you're not conditioned. But anyways, yeah, I mean, do more things that you love for yourself. And I feel like you'll definitely, you have to be okay with your solitude. There's people that can't be alone.
Yeah, I know.
And I love being alone. A certain point where my husband's like, hey, come over here.
Hello, don't forget about me. I always loved being by myself, so much so that I moved across the country by myself, okay? And as scary as that was, I loved going to restaurants by myself and, like, just doing things on my time, on my terms, and I didn't have to wait on anybody. I loved it. And now, as of recently, maybe the last month, I've been struggling. Like, I was talking to my therapist about it this morning. I've been struggling because I'm like, oh my gosh, am I, like, feeling, like, lonely? Like, I didn't even know what lonely felt. Like, I didn't even know that loneliness was a real feeling up until this last month for the first time in my life. And I'm so uncomfortable by it. And I was telling her, I was like, I love being by myself. I do things by myself all the time. I've lived across the country by myself. I've done all these things. Like, why am I so uncomfortable with this? And she said, it's okay to have a balance. And it's okay to be in a time period where you crave other people's company. And you should be okay in asking that. And I'm like, I don't even know how to ask. Like, I don't even know how to ask for somebody to spend time with me. Like, I don't know how to say it. I'm just I'm lonely. Can you come over? Like, who says that? Like, I don't know how to ask. Like, I've never asked it before. I never craved it before. And it's so uncomfortable for me.
We have different seasons.
Right. Yeah.
And I also feel like New York is very different. I feel like it kind of pushes you to be around people. It's kind of, you don't see a lot of people in a restaurant having dinner by themselves.
That's
I've traveled, I see that, but I never see in New York City. Everyone is with someone, and I think that's fine. I think that we were placed in this earth to not be by ourselves. We were placed on this earth to also, be with other people, have relationships with other people.
From the moment that we're born, I feel like it's the opposite. We, instead of learning to be with people, we have to learn to be by ourselves, because that's the one thing that's not taught. Nobody teaches you to love yourself.
No, exactly. And I feel like you now know how to love yourself. You know that. But now you're seeking love. Now you're seeking another person to also love you, and the way you love you.
Yeah, and that's weird to me.
No,
that's
it's not.
So weird.
I think that's growth.
That's growth.
That's growth.
It's different. Yeah.
And let me tell you, there's a lot of people that haven't even reached that yet. And, it's sad, but I feel like New York City, there's a lot of people that are, I don't know, they're just not
filled.
They're not.
Empty.
Very much so.
It feels like that. Like sometimes I'm very energy driven like you, and sometimes I'm on the train and I'm like, I just feel emptiness. Like, and that's actually, I was saying that to my therapist. I'm like, I think this lonely feeling is not my feeling. Like, I think that I'm absorbing the energy of loneliness around me that is making me feel like it's about me, but maybe it has nothing to do with me.
Don't think about it. We run on stress here.
Yeah.
Like, you're doing everything. You have tunnel vision. Mm-hmm. You're going from point A to point B.
Rushing.
Now, I'm
fast.
pretty sure that when you were over there in California, everything had so much time for you to do.
Oh my gosh.
You
time
probably from point A to point B, but you also took point A1 to A.
And I was never rushing. Like, time wasn't against me.
That's
time was working
problem.
with me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then here is like time is working. You're chasing time.
We're rushing. There's so much stress. We're exhausted. And I feel like when all of those type of things just kind of add on, just
more stress and more
just
heaviness.
A lot. Like our light here in New York City is dimmed. I feel like. And then the winter. What am I doing here?
This is not meant for me. That's what I say every day. I'm like, oh my gosh, why does my face hurt? My face shouldn't hurt when I walk outside. That should be illegal. I shouldn't be in a place where my face hurts. Mm-hmm. There's like a meme that says that. So how do we heal the things that we've learned, like always being around people or having someone complete us? And how can we get back to me, myself, and I? How can we get back to ourselves? Like, what are some pointers that you would give people on how they can start?
Again, go back to
boundaries.
Boundaries, yeah. Boundaries are so essential. You have to, have them. First, you have to know what your boundaries are.
Write them down.
Yeah, write them down. What are your boundaries? My boundaries and your boundaries and whoever's listening boundaries are very different. Mm-hmm. We all grow up in very different environments, our values, and so you first have to list them. After you list them, then you kind of have to communicate them. Start communicating.
That's the hard part.
Yes, it is. But you know what? We do communicate them. You know when we communicate them? When we're pissed off. When we're enraged.
And that's when it comes out really bad. That's my problem.
Because
I wait till I get mad, and you shouldn't wait till you get mad.
You can't, yeah. And I feel like, but also, you don't have to get mad. This is when you're able to communicate with the other person, and you're just like, look, this is not going where I thought it would be going. Mm-hmm. And this is a boundary that I have. Obviously, you're not going to say it like that, but this is a boundary that I have, and I wish that you could respect this boundary. Because if you're not respecting it, you're also disrespecting me. And that I do not allow. Because you're no longer being you. So communicate your boundaries. Then you will have people that will push you. And they will test you. And they will be like, all right, she defined her boundaries. She communicated her boundaries.
But I don't believe her.
But you know what? Let's see if this is true. You know what? I'm just gonna do. So, for example, we had this scenario of like, okay, someone calling you at work. This person calls you at work. And you see the phone ringing. You're just like, really?
I told you not to call me while I'm at work.
Just not. You don't pick it up. And guess what? That lets the other person know. All right. I guess this person was actually being real when it comes to their boundaries. All right. I'm gonna respect it. Let me step back. But if you decided to pick up that call, you go against everything.
You have to stick by what you say.
Stick to your guns. You have to stick to it. Yeah. Let me see. Other pointers.
Well, those are good. I know you're going to give some on your after credits. So,
I was.
So that means you have to stick around for the after credits, everyone. So, just a little teaser question that I'm just starting with. You're actually the first person that's going to get this, but I'm going to start asking this question on all of my episodes moving forward after you. If you had to evacuate New York and can only take 3 people with you, who would they be?
3 people with
3 people only.
Jesus Christ, that's hard. 3 people with
evacuation.
Me. I'm the 4th.
No, you're the 4th person, so 3 additional people.
That's hard. Because I'm leaving a lot of people behind.
I mean...
I like you, Melissa.
I know.
I do. I like
Leave me behind and choose your 3.
You know what? My mom is my mom. I'd have to take my mom.
Mom gotta go with you.
I'm taking my husband, too. The 3rd person is questionable. I don't know who I would take.
Your niece?
I don't know. I know.
Your sister?
But I know I have... But that's the thing. Choosing between them. That's hard. Why the question?
You gotta choose one.
No, you know what? Let's put 2 other people. I'll stay behind. I'll figure something out.
You're so sweet.
I'll figure something out.
You're so sweet for saying that.
No. How can I choose someone?
You can.
No, that's scary.
Evacuation. Okay, so she's gonna leave herself out and choose 2 additional people. That's very nice.
We could probably figure something out.
Yeah, I'm definitely not gonna do that.
Well, you know what? My husband could stay behind. Maybe he'll
figure it out. He'll be able to fend for himself.
We'll figure out how to take more people.
Yes, never taking no for an answer. I like it. Yeah. Well, thank you for listening. Another amazing episode. Thanks, Yolanda, for being here. Bye. I hope you learned something. I hope you unlearned something. And I hope you got great pointers. And make sure that you stick around for the after credits. Remember, it's the best part. So stay tuned. Laters. And now, the best part. Here are the after credits. A message from my co-host.
For many years, I adjusted my boundaries to fit each relationship. But by doing this, I made myself unhappy. My poor boundaries led to resentment, anger, and burnout. Now in my adult life, I understand that boundaries are about the relationship I have with myself and my own values. When we have no boundary, it represents how much or little we respect ourselves. Setting boundaries was very important to me for my own personal growth. I figured out that healthy relationships require the space to be yourself and maintain your own personal integrity. Here are some examples of boundaries I've set for myself. Communication is key. Once I knew what my core values are, I communicated them. I taught others what I stand by and what I don't. I knew my boundaries would keep me safe and, most importantly, happy. Listing precise boundaries allows others to know what you allow and don't allow in your personal space. 2, call them out. My boundaries are non-negotiable. No exceptions. I honor my needs. I respect the boundaries I set for myself. People will test, push, and disrespect your limits. If anyone crosses your boundaries, consequences should be met. I never let anyone get away with disrespecting my boundaries. 3, I mean what I say, and I say what I mean. I follow through with what I say. When you go against your values, your boundaries are put at stake. You give others room to question your authenticity. Never be afraid to call someone out in fear of their reaction or losing their relationship. I keep it real and don't conceal my true feelings. I've learned to ground myself with my values and always be clear in my communication. After all, my boundaries are my friend. 4, it's not you, it's me. I obsess with healing others at one point in my life. I allowed toxic relationships in my life in hope that one day they would change. This false premonition ultimately burnt me out. When I figured out I couldn't change them, I changed myself. I gave myself the medication I gave others. And not only did it heal me, it ultimately changed how I dealt with these relationships. This motivated them to change because their old tactics no longer worked on me. 5, I never lose. I either win or learn. No one is time to move on. I'm no longer afraid to terminate a relationship. When I didn't receive the same energy I put into a relationship, I left. I would either limit a person's time in my life or close the chapter. I knew that who I surrounded myself mattered. I gained more by stepping away from relationships that didn't feed my soul. I learned from it and moved on. 6, make room for people who want to love you. Seems easy, but when you keep toxic relationships around you, you block others from coming in. Sometimes we keep the wrong people around in fear of being alone. I learned to love my own company, and in learning that, more people love my company too. 7, cut the vicious cycle. I trust my gut feeling and don't pursue someone who directly or passively rejects me. Never make up excuses for other people's behavior. And lastly, most important of all, love thyself. I learned that there is no important relationship I will ever have in this lifetime other than myself. Take time to water yourself. Be comfortable in your own skin, in your own truth, in your own company. Because ultimately, you teach others how to love you by how you love and respect yourself.